July 1996. Purdue Pharma headquarters, Connecticut. A private party celebrating the launch of a new drug. High-ranking employees, members of the family that owns it. On stage is Richard Sackler, one of the company's directors and heir to its founders. He asks everyone to imagine a natural disaster, a hurricane, an earthquake, a snowstorm, and he says, verbatim, "What will follow will be a blizzard of prescriptions that will wipe out the competition." The new drug is called OxyContin. The active ingredient is oxycodone, a strong opioid. It's a morphine-based pain reliever. It comes in a sustained-release tablet. In 4 years, sales will grow from $48 million to $1,100 million a year. In 25 years, nearly 500,000 Americans will die from opioid overdoses. And while this was happening, the Sackler family would siphon $10.7 billion out of the company into offshore accounts and trusts where lawsuits wouldn't reach them. This isn't a story about drugs. It's a story about how to intentionally create a crisis, profit from it as much as possible, and then walk away with the money and remain free. 1952. 3 New York doctor brothers, Arthur, Mortimer, and Raymond Sackler, buy a small pharmaceutical company, Purdue Frederick. The brothers are smart, ambitious, and enterprising. Arthur, the most far-sighted of them, already understands something in the 1950s that the others have missed. In medicine, money isn't just made from drugs. Money is made from marketing drugs. In the 1960s, Arthur Sackler developed a revolutionary advertising campaign for the tranquilizer Valium from Hoffmann La Roche. Valium would become the first drug in history to generate over $100 million in annual sales, all thanks to marketing. Arthur realized that a doctor isn't a scientist making rational choices. A doctor is a person who can be persuaded. Arthur would die in 1987, before OxyContin. But he would create a model that the family would apply on an unprecedented scale. By the 1990s, Purdue Pharma, as the company was renamed, was developing OxyContin. The product was ready by 1996, but there was a fundamental problem. Doctors are afraid of opioids. For decades, medical school has taught us that opioids are addictive. They are prescribed only to terminal cancer patients, only to the dying, only for unbearable pain. Opioids are not suitable for chronic pain, arthritis, back pain, migraines, too risky. Purdue Pharma's solution to this problem is simple. They need to convince doctors that OxyContin is different from other opioids, that it's safe, that addiction is a myth for weak people, that chronic pain is an undertreated disease and OxyContin is the solution. And the company is launching a marketing machine that had never existed in the pharmaceutical industry before. Sales representatives. In 1996, there were 671 of them. By 2001, their number had grown by 73%. By 2010, there were over 1,000. Each one is assigned to their own list of doctors. Each one is trained in one message. OxyContin is virtually non-addictive due to its slow-release nature. The patient receives pain relief gradually, not a high. That's different. Representatives told doctors less than 1% of patients become addicted. 1%. That figure appeared in a small letter to a medical journal in 1980 about hospitalized patients taking intravenous opioids under observation. Purdue Pharma took that figure and began to promote it as established medical fact. The actual figure, according to the U.S. National Institutes of Health, is that 8 to 12% of patients on long-term opioid therapy develop dependence. This is 8 to 12 times higher than the company's claims. Doctors were invited to conferences, fully funded, resorts, 5-star hotels, over 20 years, 40 conferences for 5,000 doctors, 20,000 pain education programs. Doctors who became consultants for the company received honoraria and spoke to colleagues as independent experts. Patients were given free starter coupons. The first package was free. Sales representatives received bonuses. In 2001, the average annual bonus was $70,000. Top representatives earned up to $250,000 in bonuses on top of their salary. An internal memo from a sales manager to his representatives in 1996 was titled, "Bonus Time in the Quarter." Quote from the memo, "The one who sells 40 milligram pills will win the battle." 40 milligrams was the highest dose at the time, the most dangerous, the most profitable. Within the company, sales representatives were called crusaders and knights. Management was the royal court of OxyContin. By 2001, annual sales reached $1.1 billion, a 23-fold increase in 4 years. The number of OxyContin prescriptions for non-cancer pain from 1997 to 2002 increased from 670,000 to 6.2 million annually, a nearly 10-fold increase in 5 years, and at the same time, a crisis. In Appalachian communities, in small towns in Kentucky and Virginia, doctors are beginning to see something they hadn't seen before. Patients they prescribed OxyContin for back pain or after surgery can't stop. They ask for more. Then they ask more insistently. Then they come back anxious and aggressive. Then they disappear. Local residents began crushing the pills and snorting or injecting them. This way the drug worked faster, bypassing the slow-release mechanism. Pharmacies in small towns that never imagined they would become epidemic centers filled thousands of prescriptions. Some doctors, so-called pill mills, wrote hundreds of prescriptions a day without a proper medical examination. Purdue knew about these doctors. In several cases, they were among its best clients. From Appalachia, the crisis spread to the Midwest, then to the suburbs, then everywhere. Back then it was called the white suburban epidemic, because it was the first wave of drug addiction that equally affected white middle-class Americans, people with jobs and insurance, people who went to the doctor with back pain and got the medication they were officially prescribed with a prescription at the pharmacy. Local sheriffs called the company, county leaders wrote letters, doctors in Virginia published articles. It's a crisis. Purdue Pharma's response? OxyContin is not addictive. People who become addicted have an addictive personality. The problem isn't the pills, the problem is weak people. In 2001, another problem with the drug itself was discovered. OxyContin was advertised as having a 12-hour duration of action. For many patients, it wore off after 8. There were several hours of pain and withdrawal between doses. Purdue knew this. The solution the company offered doctors was simply to increase the dose. Higher doses provided longer periods of relief. Internal documents, later revealed that the company knew that increasing the dose increased the risk of addiction and overdose. But sales of higher doses were more profitable. The recommendation, increase the dose, was official policy. It's 2001. Questions about OxyContin addiction are growing louder. An internal company meeting is underway. Richard Sackler, via email, proposes a strategy: attack, not defend. Shift the blame to patients. Call them despicable criminals. That's a verbatim quote from his email. Focus the public narrative on abuse, not the drug. Addiction is a person's problem, not the pills. This strategy will become the company's official line for the next decade. Purdue Pharma LP and 3 of the company's top executives pleaded guilty to criminal charges for misleading the public about the addiction risks of OxyContin. The fine is $600 million, the largest fine ever paid by a drug manufacturer in the U.S. 3 executives, Michael Friedman, Howard Udelman, and Paul Goldenheim, received suspended sentences. The Sackler family is not involved in the criminal proceedings. They are the owners, not the managers. There are no criminal charges. And here's what happens immediately after the fine. The Sacklers start siphoning money out of the company, systematically, year after year. 600 million, 800, a billion. By 2018, the total amount siphoned from Purdue Pharma will be $10.7 billion. $10.7 billion over 10 years. While the company continues to operate, while the crisis grows, while thousands of people die from overdoses every year, money is transferred to offshore structures, family trusts, Swiss bank accounts. Structures registered in Guernsey, Liechtenstein, the British Virgin Islands, places beyond the reach of American courts. It was during this period that the Sacklers continued to actively engage in philanthropy. The Sackler Gallery at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., the Sackler Wing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the Sackler Museum at Harvard, the Sackler Institute at Oxford. Hundreds of millions of dollars in donations. Their names are on the facades of the world's finest cultural institutions, patrons of the arts, respected citizens. At the same time, In depressed areas of the country, young people were dying from pills containing their medicine. September 2019. More than 2,600 lawsuits from states, counties, and cities are filed against Purdue Pharma. The company files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This isn't a typical bankruptcy, it's a strategic maneuver, because American bankruptcy law has a mechanism called the third-party exemption. In theory, it's used to allow people closely connected to a bankrupt company to also receive legal protection. In practice, the Sackler family uses it to grant family members who didn't personally file for bankruptcy complete immunity from civil lawsuits. In exchange for voluntary payments, the original agreement, the Sacklers pay $4.5 billion. In exchange, they are immune from civil prosecution by anyone in the United States for their role in the opioid crisis. Forever. December 2021, Judge Colleen McCammon of the Southern District, New York, rejects the agreement. In her ruling, she writes that the court has no authority to discharge people who did not file for bankruptcy. The family withdrew more than $10 billion from the company as the crisis worsened, and now claims that's why the company has no money to pay out. This contradiction cannot be compensated for by legal immunity. The case goes to the U.S. Supreme Court, June 2023. By an 8-to-1 vote, the Supreme Court affirms that the Sacklers' automatic immunity is unlawful. People who haven't filed for bankruptcy themselves cannot obtain protection from lawsuits through a company's bankruptcy. Negotiations begin anew. January 2025. The final settlement, $7.4 billion. The Sackler family will pay it over 15 years to states, counties, and addiction treatment programs. Also included is the release of 30 million documents, including privileged attorney correspondence about the OxyContin pipeline and the decisions made. The Sacklers are permanently out of the opioid business in the United States. This is the largest personal settlement in the history of the opioid crisis. But wait for the conclusions. The family withdrew $10.7 billion from the company. They will pay $7.4 billion. The difference is approximately $3 billion. That's how much they will keep even after the maximum settlement. No member of the Sackler family has been convicted of a crime for their role in the opioid crisis. There's another company that played a less talked-about role in this story. The consulting firm McKinsey advised Purdue Pharma from 2004 to 2019. When the crisis was already evident in 2010, McKinsey proposed a strategy to boost OxyContin sales. Declassified court documents contain a specific recommendation: to pay pharmacies compensation for every patient admitted to emergency rooms with an OxyContin overdose. The logic is that if a pharmacy risks its reputation by having its customers overdose, Purdue should pay for that risk. This incentivizes pharmacies to continue selling. The documents specify a specific amount: $14,810 for each overdose. In 2021, McKinsey paid a $640 million settlement to the United States. No McKinsey employees were convicted of any crime. Now look at the big picture. Nearly 500,000 deaths from 1999 to 2023. Every day, that's roughly 130 Americans. This isn't an abstraction. These are people who went to the doctor with back pain, got a prescription, and within a few months couldn't stop. People who lost their jobs, lost their families, lost their lives. Their children grew up in foster homes. Their partners were left to pay their mortgages alone. In depressed counties in Ohio and West Virginia, life expectancy literally shrank. Life expectancy fell for the first time in decades in the very areas where OxyContin first arrived. Mortimer Sackler died in 2010. Raymond Sackler died in 2017. Richard Sackler is still alive. According to Forbes, the family's fortune is estimated at $11 billion, even after all payments. In 2024, Harvard removed the Sackler name from its museum. Oxford removed the Sackler name from a research institute. The Louvre in Paris removed the Sackler name from its Egyptian Antiquities wing. The Metropolitan Museum of Art continues to negotiate a renaming. The walls are up. The names are being taken. The people are dead. If a screenwriter had written this story, they would have added a financial twist at the end that makes it completely unbearable. Purdue Pharma made over $35 billion on OxyContin. The family withdrew $10.7 from the company. The settlement will include $7.4. The net profit is approximately $3.5 billion after all payments for 500,000 deaths. This is not a metaphor. This is accounting. And one last detail, the opioid crisis isn't over. The company was shut down. The family was fined. Prescription OxyContin was restricted. But people who lost access to prescription opioids switched to cheaper heroin, then to synthetic fentanyl from China and Mexico. In 2022, over 100,000 Americans died from overdoses in just 1 year, an all-time record. Richard Sackler said in 1996, "There's a snowstorm coming." The snowstorm continues.